You're listening to Pombo and Peter's Picks, the home of your favorite sports betting podcast. Presented by The Daily Goat.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Pombo and Peter's Picks. I'm Jason Pombo, joined as always by Peter Alves. Peter, how we doing today?
How's it going? It's a great episode. No football talk at all. Nothing's ever happened. We don't got.
You know that makes me sad, Peter.
Bum Aaron Rodgers. No sadness. It's baseball season now. No football ever again till free agency 2 weeks.
Yeah, okay. Till like what, next week?
Yep.
So things that as me and Peter were kind of preparing for the show, we were talking about how we kind of got sort of lucky because we kind of planned our shows for the next month about who we were going to have on and what we were going to talk about. Because the month of March is pretty busy for us. We talked about it last week. This week we're going to talk about the National League, give you our win totals, preview that. Next week we're going to do the same thing with the American League. The following week we have NFL free agency. We got March Madness in there as well. We have MLB opening day. So we have a lot of stuff kind of going forward for the month of March, which is exciting. But for preparing for the podcast each week, we kind of have to divvy up the pie. So this week we felt that it would be best to sort of talk about the National League. Later on in the show, we're going to have Dylan talk about UFC 285, the return of John Jones. And Dylan, of course, who was just on, maybe 3 weeks ago. And we're also going to have Nate Olshan of Big Talk with Big Nate. Nate, who was probably on, the last time he was on was probably this same episode last year, previewing the National League. And a lot has transpired with his team, the New York Mets. And as Peter has in his background, he has a picture of Carlos Correa in a Mets uniform photoshopped behind Citi Field. For those of you that don't remember, because it feels like an eternity ago, Carlos Correa looked destined to return, to end up in New York to be a member of the New York Mets, and that did not follow through. So he's kind of trolling Nate, and Nate is kind of shaking his head on our Zoom call right now. So without further introduction, we're going to bring on Nate at Big Talk with Big Nate, along with Dylan from CTW, who we're also going to have on. We said Dylan knows baseball. Screw it. Let's have him on. Why not? What's up, guys?
How we doing, fellas? Thanks for having me.
Nate, it's an honor. It's a privilege to be in your presence again.
It's an honor to be on this great show. It's iconic.
Very iconic. Same as you. Dylan, again, we're going to talk some UFC later on in the show, but we said, you know what? Let's have him on for baseball, Dylan. We know you like some baseball, so let's bring it.
I do always love some baseball. Nate and I have had quite a few conversations about baseball over the years, and obviously the UFC later. But I'm always down for any type of sport, really.
Yeah, and Dylan is Dylan's very flexible. Nate and Dylan have had a great. We've had a lot of discussions back at Curry Radio and MLN on Big Talk with Big Nate about baseball and stuff. So I was like, this is a good throwback right here. This will be a lot of fun. So without further ado, Peter, before we kind of transition here to previewing, we're going to start off with this NL Central. I want to talk about spring training just briefly, just a couple minutes, if that's okay with you, Peter, about how the new rules have been sort of implemented with the pitch clock, the bigger bases, pace of play has certainly went down. I think the average spring training game is down to 229, I believe, which is a significant drop off with about a 30-minute drop off. So, Nate, Dylan, Peter, have you guys watched any spring training games at all?
Yep, I watched a few Red Sox ones and a few on Twitter, and I love the pitch clock. Pitchers throw the ball. I don't care if you're a batter, Manny Machado, just stop talking. Or Kevin Pilecki on Twitter, stop talking. Just pitch the ball. It's 20 seconds now. Get it down to 15. I don't even care. You can look at side-by-side things on Twitter too, and it's just like 3 pitchers in the older game is like happening in the new game. It's the best thing they've ever done, I think.
Did you see the viral clip? I forgot who the pitcher was, where it was like it was in the playoffs, and Jose Altuve had 7 inside the park home runs before one pitch was thrown. That was circulating on Twitter. I thought that was crazy, but
yeah.
Nate, what do you think about it? Because I know you kind of differ just slightly a little bit. You're more of a traditional good.
Well, I like the pitch clock. I'm all for the pitch clock. I think it's done a lot of great stuff in the minor leagues. It's sped up those games a lot. A lot of the minor league pitchers and even the hitters are all for it. So I'm all for it for baseball. They want to speed up the game. It's cool by me. Some of these other kind of rules that they have going on are kind of stupid, but pitch clock's good. I like that. I think that's good. It's definitely speeding up spring training a hell of a lot of times. So Do it. See how it goes. Rob Manfred, he's kind of a clown, but this is one of the few non-clown moves that he's done. So hopefully it ends up working out well. And if it doesn't, I blame Manfred.
Fair enough. Dylan, what do you think?
It's always the blame on Manfred, and I have to agree with Nate there. Worst commissioner in sports.
Oh yeah.
But no, I mean, I'm for it. I'm definitely one who loves a faster game. I know we were talking about it the other day. You've seen it raise so much the time for a baseball game over the last 20 years. And I love guys like old names, guys like Greg Maddux. Just get up there. I'm going to throw you my best pitch, and you try and hit it. And if that's what the game is, I think that's fun. That's exciting. And I think it's good for the game. I think it's ridiculous when it's taken 5 minutes for somebody to throw a pitch. Like,
Yeah.
nothing's that important, man. Come on.
Yeah. Goddamn. It's third inning of a game. Pitcher's taking like 5 minutes. It's 4 minutes just to throw a pitch. Like, Jesus.
Yeah, get in the box.
Get out there. Throw it.
Pitch the ball. Don't like spit or don't be David Price. I
Yeah.
don't care. And just
Especially in like the middle of
whatever.
May. Like, okay, it's game 7 of the World Series, 5th inning, runners on the corners, 2 outs. You want to take a little bit of time? Fine
Yeah.
with it.
Okay. Anyone have any other thoughts on the new rules or spring training in general? I've caught at least one game, a little bit of another, but I'm glad baseball is back, or I should say rapidly approaching here to being back. And I think these new rules are going to probably impact the game in a positive way. I shouldn't say probably. I think it will. And hopefully it brings in an audience that kind of fell out of touch with baseball. It feels like it was I don't want to call it a generation of people, but a select group of people that were really into baseball in like the early to mid 2000s and then kind of stepped away. I wonder if we can get those people back, because I think that would be beneficial for the sport.
Yeah.
All right. So, Peter, any other thoughts before we transition to the Central here?
good on baseball. Go baseball. Go Cubs.
baseball.
Go. That's
Go.
all I got for the National League.
Yeah. Okay, Peter.
Well, I don't
All
know. What's another team like rally cry? I don't know.
That's true. I don't know any rallying
I
cries.
couldn't even tell you.
All right, so let's talk about the NL Central here. Let's start with the St. Louis Cardinals, Peter. According to DraftKings, their win total is set at 88.5. The St. Louis Cardinals are coming off a season in which they won the NL Central. They went 93-69. They're favored to win the division. And their odds to win the division are -120. And look, I feel like a lot of people have them as the favorite. Again, you look at this team: Nolan Arenado, top 10 player in baseball; Paul Goldschmidt, top 10 player in baseball. There's some question marks surrounding it, but who wants to start? Peter, we'll start off with you. What do you think about the St. Louis Cardinals here? What are you taking for that total? And I'll repeat the total in case no one heard: 88.5.
I have them as the over. I know they had the top 3 MVP candidates. I think, right? I mean, Ohtani didn't win, but I mean, Contreras is a good signing for sure. I mean, Adam Wainwright's a concern, but he's 42. Jack Flaherty didn't pitch at all last year. Steven Matz, Nate can tell you about Steven Matz. He didn't pitch at all last year either. But I mean, as long as their pitching holds up, and I don't think the rest of that division's kind of good, so I think it'll balance itself out. So I don't think it's over.
Okay, Dylan, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm definitely going over as well. Like you said, Goldschmidt, Arenado, great. Although their pitching has some question marks, if they're healthy, they should, produce pretty well. And they didn't take any major steps back. I mean, besides losing Albert Pujols, over 700. But no, they should easily go over 88.5.
Yeah. So, Nate, what do you think?
I'll take the slight over. I like their offense a lot. Their offense is one of the best lineups in baseball. Pitching definitely has some question marks. I love Jack Flaherty. We'll see if he can get back to what he once was, but they'll definitely win that division. I don't know how far they'll go in the playoffs. Probably be bounced out of the first round. Let's be honest, if they don't improve their pitching a whole lot, but their offense is as good as it gets, and pitching is just, hopefully Flaherty bounces back. Hopefully Steven Matz is something. They gave him like $80 million, so, but he's terrible. So pitching, I'm not much of a believer in their staff, but they definitely win that division though. So I guess good for their fans.
Okay. I agree. I'm taking the over here. It looks like we're all sweeping the board with the over here. So that was the easy part. Look, I like the St. Louis Cardinals team a lot. Peter, correct me if I'm wrong. I had them going to the World Series last year.
That sounds about
When do
right.
you not have him to go into the World Series?
Not
Big
this
kid?
year. Not this year. Not this year. Changing things up because it feels like it's every year I'm picking them. You're right. Now that I say it. But look, I'm taking the over here. I think they win 90 to 91 games. I do think this division is going to be more competitive than people think. It feels like everyone's saying it's going to be a runaway from the St. Louis Cardinals. And I disagree. And that's going to kind of segue to the next team I want to talk about. And that's the Milwaukee Brewers. DraftKings has their win total set at 85.5. The Brewers are coming off a season in which they went 86-76. They finished second in the NL Central. This Brewers team has a little bit of a mystique to them. There's a little bit of an unknown. Again, they were unconventional at the trade deadline last year. And that kind of got some people scratching their heads. But again, they end up falling short in the NL Central. So, Peter, what do you think about them this year? They are plus 160 to win the NL Central.
This is probably my one of my favorite bets on the NL side. I have them as a hard under. They've lost, I think, like 5 relief pitchers. I don't know how they're gonna do that. Josh Hader, especially. Obviously, they have a top, probably like 3 rotation at baseball. So there's always that, but you gotta bridge the gap somehow. And I think they've traded off too many pieces. With Red Sox legend Hunter Renfroe.
Yes, Hunter Renfroe. Yes. All right, Dylan, what do you think?
I think they might go under here. I haven't really seen anyone, like Peter said, they got rid of some pieces that were pretty valuable. And although you have, a great starting rotation, your bullpen severely lacks. I think first base is a question mark for them with Rowdy Tellez there. I'm not really huge on him. Yelich is getting older. Willie Adames is okay, serviceable. But outside their starting pitching, they really struggle in a lot of areas. So I don't know. I could see them probably 500, maybe 79, around there.
Ooh, so Dylan and Peter both like the real under here. Nate, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm taking the way under on this. I don't believe in the Brewers at all. They really ruined their relationship with Corbin Burns during the arbitration. They basically said that last year not going to playoffs was his fault, and they gave him less money than what he wanted in arbitration. So he's a free agent about a year and a half. He's probably going to be down at the trade deadline. Brandon Woodruff's contract's coming up too. He's probably going to be down at the trade deadline. Willie Adames, they almost traded to him at the trade deadline last year, so they're probably going to deal him. Yelich hasn't done anything since being paid, so yeah, it really wouldn't shock me if they're like down there with the Reds as one of the bottom teams of this division.
All right, guys.
Taking the way under. I'm taking 20 games under.
20 games. Jeez.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what, there's no way in hell we both can be all on the same page for this one. I'll take the over. I'm going to do it because I think there's that St. Louis Cardinals team, Nate, that I always fall in love with. I'm not going to take the cheese this year. I think Milwaukee can win 87 games. I don't think they're going to win the division, but I think they're going to be a little bit better than people think. I think Yelich can have a little bit of a bounce back year. I like them over here. 87 wins. They're going to surprise some people.
Yeah, maybe Yelich should hit 220, and he'll definitely he'll be better than last year.
Matt, you're listening to this. Have a ticket for the Brewers under.
Are you talking to Matt?
Yeah, I know Matt's
going to be
listening.
your ticket.
And we'll take my advice. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe not. You pissed him off last year.
Under. Well, Seattle, don't give me that, but yeah.
Yeah, Peter was high on Seattle last year. Didn't pan out until the very end, I should say. All right, next, let's talk about the Chicago Cubs, a team that Peter was just alluding to. The Cubs, according to DraftKings, are set at 77.5 wins. Their odds to win the division are plus 650. The Cubs are coming off a 74-88 season. Cubs were a little bit busy this offseason. Peter, what do you think about the Cubs? It feels like, to me, you're high on the Cubs.
Well, go Cubs, go. I have them as a slight over, not too much. They got Dansby Swanson, probably Nate's best friend, and they got Tyone from the Yankees, so they should be pretty good. I mean, Wilson Contreras obviously is probably a big loss, but the over sounds doable. So
you can take the over here. Dylan, what do you think?
This is tough because they did get some signings, Dansby Swanson, Jameson Taillon, Bellinger, who I was a fan of, Trey Mancini, who I liked earlier in his career. 77. That half is really throwing me off because I almost want to say a push. Like, I really feel like they'll win 77, 78 games, just be sub 500. Because they need some other pieces as well. But middle of the road team, nothing amazing.
So what are you taking, Dylan? You got to make your pick. Sorry, it's a half.
I'm gonna go under. I'm gonna say they go right at 77.
All right, there you go. Nate, what do you think?
Taking the slide over on this. I really like Bellinger on a 1-year contract. Gets him out of LA. Change of scenery. Could do some good. Trey Mancini. They have a really young offensive team. Kind of, my favorite word, Pombo, mentor. He can mentor
Yes.
that young offense. Dansby Swanson. He rocks. He's gonna do great. Tyon. They have some other good pitching in that rotation. I don't think the Brewers are gonna do anything. So I really think that the Cubs maybe potentially fight with the Cardinals for the division. I don't see it, but if everything clicks, maybe if Bellinger has a comeback year, maybe. So I'm taking the over on this.
Okay. So, Dylan, I'll agree with you. I'm going to take the slight under here. I like what they did this offseason. I like buying low on a guy like Bellinger, who I understand has kind of sucked the last 4 or 5 years. I think it's been that long. How many years has he been bad? 4 years now? 3 years in a row?
Yeah, ever since he almost won MVP.
Yeah. So you buy low on him. And I think he can be a good player, but this Cubs team to me, and I love Swanson too. It pains me to take the under here. No one mentioned Suzuki. He's a little bit banged up. I'm not sure if he's going to miss some time to start off the year. And that could impact the total as well. I'm going to take a slight under. I think they'll win like 75 games. All right, let's move to the Pittsburgh Pirates. According to DraftKings, they are set at 68.5 wins, and they are plus 4,500 on DraftKings. The Pittsburgh Pirates, of course, are a real rebuilding team. I should say retooling. And Peter, they have old friend Ben Cherington down there in Pittsburgh. So last year, the Pirates went 62-100. DraftKings think they'll be a little bit better this year. What do you think?
Oh, I thought you were gonna go with this. I have them as yonder. Pick this Matt too. I like this bet a lot. They have fan service. They sign Andrew McCutcheon. I don't know why. And then I think Brian Reynolds is gonna get traded because they're blowing it up. So
Okay. Look, Brian Reynolds, he's somebody that feels like he's been on the block for a while, but he went to spring training. He kind of talked about his status going forward. And I think he's still firm that he wants out. Pittsburgh wants a lot for him, Nate. I don't know if you were reading, they want like 2 top 10 prospects.
Like a Juan Soto package for him.
Yeah, they want a significant package.
Top prospects.
Yeah. And that's a lot. I like Reynolds, but that seems like a lot. Dylan, what do you think?
Going off of what you were saying, they have been shopping Brian Reynolds for a long time, and I think he's appealing. He's a switch hitter. He's a good defender. But I don't know. It doesn't seem like anyone wants to pay that asking price, so he's gonna probably hang around. I love O'Neill Cruz there. He's someone. Ke'Bryan Hayes is a everyday third baseman. He's not anything bad. McCutcheon, like Peter said, will bring some fan favoriteness. And they have, Rich Hill, who, how can you not love Rich Hill?
Milton native.
hey, give Rich Hill all the crap in the world. He's the only one that pitches 5-6 innings every time. Every time. It doesn't
He'll give
matter.
you
He throws 2 pitches.
Yeah, it doesn't
That's a
matter. He'll
mass
give you
legend.
innings. Doesn't matter.
No, I like Rich Hill. I think they're going to go slightly over 68.5. I think they could probably win like 72 games.
Taking the over.
Crazy.
Okay. Nate, what do you think? I know you have some stakes here. I know Nate has a lot of family members that are Pirates fans. They're also in that fantasy
for
league,
them,
so.
sadly. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna take the over on this. I like Brian Hayes. I like O'Neill Cruz, Brian Reynolds. He's kind of saying some stuff in spring training that makes it seem like he's kind of 50-50 on what happens. The pitching staff outside of Rich Hill, he's terrible. Their pitching staff besides him, it's solid. It's solid. They have some solid pieces. They have a decent farm system. They have some pitchers coming up. I mean, they're not going to be like last year's Orioles where they just seemingly come out of nowhere and are a playoff potential team. But I think I'm taking the over. I could see them. I don't know. I'll tell you this though. I definitely see them doing better than the Brewers. That's for sure.
Wow, Nate is so
opinion.
down on the Brewers.
I don't think they're gonna have half their team by the trade deadline.
So why do you think their total's at 85.5 then? You guys think
the
it's
Brewers?
low?
It's
Yeah.
the pitching stuff.
I mean, I don't know. It's
pitching
weird
stuff.
because Coburn Burns, their best player.
Nate thinks gonna win freaking.
Nate,
basically said he
it's-
wants
it-
out.
Nate, it's the starting rotation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't see the Brewers really doing anything. I don't see the Brewers doing anything besides being the biggest trader at the trade deadline.
Interesting. All right. Back to the Pirates here. I'm gonna take the over, so that makes Peter. I think you are the only one with the under here. The Pirates, look, they've been building for years. Is Reynolds going to get moved? He could be somebody that gets moved at the deadline. I like Pittsburgh to win 72 games. I'm going to take the slight over. Slight. All right. Last but not least, let's talk about the Cincinnati Reds. Cincinnati Reds, according to DraftKings, are set at 65.5 wins, and they are plus 6,000 to win the NL Central. They've had one, I think, winning season since 2013. They went 62-100 last year. 100 losses is significant. It doesn't matter how much money your franchise is worth or what. When you lose 100 games, that's some real poverty territory. So again, set at 65.5. Peter, what do you think?
Well, Reds, your time will come. I have them as the over, but maybe not yet. They have a ton of young talent. Hunter Green's pretty good. Jonathan India was hurt, but he's pretty good. They have that good catcher too. That name's escaping me.
Tucker Barnhart.
Yep, Tyler Bernhardt. So yeah, it'll come. I mean, Cincinnati's been through the ringer. The Reds are so bad. They're not worth my time, but I have them as a slight on over.
Okay, Dylan, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna go slight over too. I mean, 65 wins this season is bad. If you go under that, that is a poverty team.
When you lose 100
Goddamn.
games, it doesn't matter if you're the Yankees, the Royals. It doesn't matter what your payroll is. That's a real issue. That means, look, you got a lot.
Not to spoil it, but don't count your chickens before they hatch, Red Sox.
If they lose, Peter, if they lose 100 games, I don't even know what to say. You have to, there is, to lose 100 games, it has to be epic proportionally bad on so many levels. Like, so many levels.
So many things have to go wrong. Like,
so many things. So many things. So, Dylan, you're taking the over?
yeah, you know what? They'll win 66 games.
There you go. Improvement. Nate, I feel like Nate's going to say they're going to win like 45. Nate, what do you got?
I'm taking the under on this because I think they're gonna lose 110 games. I mean,
Oh my God.
they got Hunter Green, who every other day, I mean, every other start he pitches well. Sometimes he gave up like 7 runs in like 2 innings. Really has to control. He is phenomenal arm. Really has to control that pitch. But Jonathan India, it's really all they got on offense. R.I.P. Joey Votto. Let's take a moment here to pour one out for Joey Votto. Take a shot for him or something, because my God, this poor man has been there for nearly 2 decades, and they've done anything.
Nope, I'm not
They've
doing
done
it
anything.
because he's getting
What's the
paid.
best player he's had?
He's
What's his
getting
best teammate he's had?
It
Brandon
doesn't matter.
Phillips.
He's
Brandon
getting paid.
Phillips.
And I'll give you something with Votto here, just a little bit of comparison. I don't know, what, Damian Lillard of the MLB?
Yeah.
You could have asked to leave. It doesn't matter. You could have asked to leave.
Oh, Damian Lillard? Yeah, no, absolutely.
Or
But
no, even Joey Votto. He's
That's
getting paid.
true.
It doesn't matter. It's Miguel Cabrera.
No, that's fair.
Miguel
but
Cabrera won a ring.
I was gonna say Cabrera did win a ring in Detroit with the Dabrowski
Miami.
years. They were competitive. You know what I mean? Like they made the ALCS at least a couple times. But feels like with the Reds, it's just, I'll take the over just for the sole point. They ain't gonna lose 100 games in a row twice.
That's it. I would say the Reds are worse than the Oakland. I would say that the Reds franchise is worse than the Oakland A's franchise. At least the A's franchise produces
If you
great
lose
players.
100 games in a row, 2 years in a row, man.
Christ.
Jesus.
No
man.
way. You can't even name one person on the A's anymore.
Well, it's true. It's true.
Name one person on the A's.
I mean, they'll probably finish better than the Reds, though.
Chris Davis still on the A's?
No, he retired.
Jairus Davis? No.
Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah.
And they had that sell fest at the deadline.
Yeah, you can't.
Trevor May, Petey. Trevor May, former Met. Trevor May.
Former Twin too. There you go.
Yep, started on the Twins.
Yeah.
So, look, I'm taking the over. So is Nate's alone with the under?
There you go. 109.
All right.
Hell yeah.
All right. So, just to kind of recap, we all get the Cardinals to win the Central. All right.
Yep. Don't overthink it, Matthew.
And when Peter says the Matthew, so again, for those of you that don't know, Matt is very competitive with his betting divisions for baseball, and he's ready for this year because he sucked last year, and Peter's to blame.
No, I told him Seattle. That's it. I'll take that blame. Do not influence him to pick the Brewers. I swear to God.
I don't influence either way. You fade.
Matt,
you
don't
follow
pick
me.
the Brewers. Don't pick the
You
Brewers.
fade. You follow me. Tell you what, Peter, I won't have a Brewers ticket if that makes you feel better.
Good.
But you already know that, so it's all good. Want to transition to the NL West, which arguably is set up to have a lot of fireworks.
It should.
Not to disrupt Nate's NL East, but the NL West is set to be really good here. Headline, of course, by the LA Dodgers, who, according to DraftKings, are set at 95.5 wins. The odds to win that division are minus 120. The Dodgers, look, they need no introduction about how that team has operated over the last, what do you want to call it, 10 years. And they're coming off a season in which they won 111 games. Now, again, that has a significant drop off, 111 to 93. I'm 95.5. So what do we think about this, Peter? What do you got?
I don't know. It's really tough because they always soar over 100 wins, like without even trying. But they did lose a lot of pieces, and they don't have Walker Buehler this year because I think he's getting Tommy John surgery. So it's really tough.
Looks like it.
I mean, they have still one of the best, teams in baseball, I guess. But I have them as a slight under. But don't be surprised when they win like 103 games because of the Dodgers.
Dylan, what do you got?
You know what? I'm gonna go the under. I think they're gonna regress. I have a different pick for the division winner. I think they lost quite a few valuable pieces. I think you can only sustain the run they had for so long, and I think their time atop the NL West there is coming to a slow end, pretty much.
Look at that. Both of you on the Dodgers under, and wow, that's crazy. Nate, what do you got?
Taking the slide under as well.
Wow.
I mean, they
Nate hates
lose
everybody
Trey
in the
Turner.
NL.
They don't sign one of these amazing shortstops that are available. Xander Bogaerts, Correa, Swanson. They go with Max Muncy, who's going to be there as their
Mets didn't either.
shortstop. Like let's have him be the shortstop, and he tears his ACL yesterday. So now the shortstop list. I mean, pitching staff is solid. Kershaw's getting older. It's his last year in his contract. Bullpen is one of the best bullpens in baseball, but their rotation is very thin outside of Julio Urias, and you can say Kershaw, I guess, even though he's like 90. And they lose Trey Turner as the top 3 player in baseball, and they don't really do anything on offense to replace him. So taking the slide under.
It scares me that I agree with all three of you guys because we're all sweeping the Dodgers under. Watch, now they're going to, like Peter said, peg them to win 110
Again,
games
don't be
now.
surprised when they win 103 games.
No, I agree with all you guys. I think that division has also got a little bit better in some areas. And I think that can impact their win total as well. I'm not saying they're going to be bad. I think they'll probably end up winning like 91 games. But I'm going to have them under here. And one thing I was just looking up, the last time they didn't win 90 games in a season, if you take out the COVID year, was 2012. So they've had 90 more wins since 2012. That's a remarkable feat of a model of consistency. Now, do they wish they probably had a couple more rings in that time? Probably. Because they only had one ring in that time, and they lost the World Series, I believe, 2 other times. So you look at that, and they might have underachieved by that standpoint. But that's a real model of consistency right there. Okay, let's transition to the San Diego Padres, another heavy favorite in the National League. Their win total is set at 93.5. DraftKings has them at plus money to win the NL West at plus 125. The Padres were very busy this offseason. Last week, they just re-signed Manny Machado. Of course, they took our guy Xander Bogaerts. And look, again, you take away Nate's Mets, and they were arguably right there and being active. It's clear that they smell blood in the water in the National League, and they want to compete and they want to win. They're coming off an 89-73 season. And just here for this stat I was just reading, they haven't won 90 games in a season since 2010. What do you got, Peter?
Want to pick the under so bad, but I can't. So reluctantly over. They just have to stay healthy. They all do. I don't think they have any depth along the. I mean, like Tatis, Machado, Juan Soto's even on that team.
And Tatis is going to miss some time.
Yeah,
Musgrove too.
It doesn't matter. I mean, they just got to all stay healthy and be where the Padres get all this money from. They got to. Maybe they're taking a loan out from the Mets. So there you go.
Nate's like, yes. Dylan, what do you think?
I am hammering the over.
Dylan loves the Padres.
I am like so high on the Padres. I think, their position players are really good. They got some decent pieces in the rotation. I know Musgrove's going to be out. That's a little bit of a loss. But I liked the signing of Michael Waka. And then their bullpen, I liked Seth Lugo and Aaron Brooks. I think those were, well, he's on a minor league deal, but Robert Suarez, I think another decent name, and then obviously Bogarts is in there as well. This is a team that could win 105, 107 games if they're all healthy.
Dylan loves the Padres here. Nate, what do we got?
I'm taking the way over on this. Best lineup in baseball. The rotation, even without Musgrove, is still pretty good. I love Mackenzie Gore. He's awesome. Great lefty. I mean, this team is just gets money out of nowhere. AJ Preller. That's the whole talk of San Diego, California. I think this is really the year. This is the year. It's AJ Preller's contract year, and he's done a lot, bringing in all these great players and whatnot. So, I mean, they haven't really won anything. So I think this is really the kind of make or break kind of year. He's put all the chips into Juan Soto, Tatis, Bogarts, Yu Darvish, Blake Snell, Joe Musgrove. Like, the list goes on. So definitely taking the over on this. I see them winning at least 100 games.
I'm taking the over too. So it looks like we're sweeping the over here. I like the Padres to actually win that division as well. I think the Padres can win 100 games, like Nate and Dylan just said. I think their lineup is dynamic, has star power. If their pitching can stay healthy, I think they can be dominant. And I like the over here. I think this is a team that has been kind of waiting for their time to strike. And I know that's what it feels like. We've been saying this now 2 or 3 years in a row. And I think this will be the year. And I think if they can kind of get their ducks in a row, stay healthy, they're going to be a very scary team in the National League. And when it's all said and done, they might absolutely be the favorite to come out of the National League. Okay, let's move on.
That's Nationals, NLCS.
Let's move on to some unexciting teams in the NL West. It feels like the Dodgers, Padres is what brings everyone in. And then the Giants, Diamondbacks, and the Rockies, they're kind of like,
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Who knows? But there is some promises, specifically with the San Francisco Giants. DraftKings has them set at 81.5 wins, so right around 500. And they are plus 1,000 to win the NL West. So the Dodgers, the Giants are a team. Look, they had that great season a couple years ago. When I say great, I mean great. They overachieved. And last year, they kind of came back down to earth. Last year, they ended up winning 81 wins. So they were kind of right on par with this year's odds. And the year prior that I was just talking about, they won 107 games. So, Peter, what do you think about the Giants? Feels like hit or miss.
Don't sleep on the Giants. Don't sleep on them. They got a ton of people. Michael Conforto, Sean Manaea. You got Jock Peterson back. It's Pitcher's Park. The pitchers are pretty good. Matt, I'm not saying bet the house on it, but sprinkle $5, $10 on the division winner right there. Over.
Jesus, just light the money on fire if you're gonna do that, Matt. Don't do that.
I'm not saying the house. It's plus 1,000. But
all right, Dylan, what do you got?
I feel like they lost quite a few players. I mean, I know they got Jock Peterson. They got Mitch Haniger as well. Conforto solid, but their pitching is what worries me. I don't feel like they have the best, rotation there. And I don't think they'll take a super big dip under 81.5, but this is a team I think only wins like 79, maybe 80 games. Slight
Nate,
under.
you got? Slight under. Nate, what do you got?
I'll take slight over. I mean, they did get Mitch Haniger. They got Michael Conforto, who hasn't played since COVID, so who the hell knows what he's going to do. They lost Carlos Correa after losing Arson Judge, as John Heyman tweeted out. So, I mean, this team, they're losing fans. And you can't sign Judge. They can't sign Correa, even though they won 5 championships in the last 10 years. But, I mean, I don't know. This team just pitching. Instead of Logan Webb, they have no pitching. Shamanaya. Their bullpen. I don't see them doing much. I say they'll be around 500. Maybe they'll be right at what's it? 81.5. 82 wins. I'll give you that. So barely over.
It's kind of crazy if you kind of step back 10,000 feet, and if the Giants would have signed Carlos Correa and Aaron Judge, you kind of pair them with what else is going on in the NL West, and that could have been a really exciting thing. But they came up short on those guys, and that's why I'm going to take them slight under. I think Dylan hit the nail on the head. I think they win 78, 79 games. I like Jock Peterson. He's somebody that, to me anyway, is somebody that can kind of be dynamic, and he isn't necessarily a household name, but down for the Giants, I think he makes a difference. I have them with the slight under nonetheless. I think they need to add a pitcher or two. And everyone said they were going to be the spender this year. That didn't obviously come to fruition on those guys. Maybe that could be next year. Maybe Shohei Ohtani. I know Nate, you knew I was going there.
It's only going to one place, big kid.
Oh, I forgot. Yes, he already has the deal with the Mets. Correct. Yes, but I do think the Giants. I do think the Giants could be potential suitors for Ohtani, but because I do think they have some money to spend, and I think they will eventually spend it eventually, and I think Ohtani could be that guy. But this year, taking the under. All right, let's transition to the Arizona Diamondbacks, another team that generates so much excitement, right, Peter? According to DraftKings, they're set at 74.5 wins. They are plus 5,000 to win the NL West. Again, this is a team that it feels like the league isn't taking too seriously. Again, it's Torey Lovello, who has been the manager there. Did he survive? Is he still there for the 2023 season? He is, right? Yeah, I thought so. And the D-backs coming off a season in which they were 74-88, and they haven't had a winning season since 2019. And they've been under 500 for 3 consecutive years. So, Peter, does that change in 2023?
So, Matt, I told you not to bet the house on this. Don't bet the house on this, but sprinkle some money on this too. This is my best bet, probably of the whole National League.
Wow.
Way over. They have Zach
way
Gallen.
over.
Yeah, well, maybe not way over, but hardest over that I have on the National League. Zach Gallen, I think is a young pitcher. They have a ton of prospects coming out the yin yang. And they just got to win like 2-3 games more than last year. Torey Lovello is a dark horse manager of the year. So
Wow.
I love their young talent all the way around.
I kind of just dissed him, but you gave him some high praise. Good for you. Dylan,
Well, no, I think he sucks, but like I think the team's gonna just work itself out.
Okay. Dylan, what do you got?
Yeah, so I'm kind of on the Peter train here. I think this is a sleeper team that, although they don't have any major names, they could be, a solid wild card team come playoff time. I really like Zach Gallen. I like Merrill Kelly. Madison Bumgarner can still do some things if he's not, deceased. Out of their bullpen, I like Mark Melkonen. They got a couple of good young guys too. Thinking like, obviously their big name is Ketel Marte, but I like Christian Walker. I like Carson Kelly.
You got Gurriel coming out of the pipeline.
Yeah, I was gonna say they got Gurriel now too. They got Corbin Carroll in right field, who I think is one of the best prospects in baseball. This is an exciting team. If they can stay healthy and just play with a lot of fight, they'll easily go over.
All right, Nate, what do we got?
Yeah, I'm taking the over on this. I see them kind of being similar to the Orioles last year, where some of their prospects started to come up and they ended up being great. Diamondbacks have the second best farm system in baseball, led by Corbin Carroll, who's the top prospect, who's my pick to win National League Rookie of the Year. They got Drew Jones, Andrew Jones' son, who's coming up too. He might be up by around trade deadline. Another outfielder. They're gonna have one of the best outfields in baseball shortly. They have a solid rotation in Gallen and Merrill Hodge. I mean, this team's on the come up, and Lovello's already won manager of the year with the Diamondbacks. I think that's kind of why they kept him on, to try to like get Ketel Marte and these guys to be mentors. Pombo, mentor. They brought in Evan Longoria, big kid. They brought in Evan Longoria to be a mentor. So I mean, this team, I don't see them being a playoff team, especially in that division, but I see them definitely being like the Orioles of last year, where they some people kind of came out of nowhere, but their prospects started to really come up, started to become a great team and produce. Taking the way over. I'm saying they win. You ready for this one? I'm saying they win 84 games this year.
Wow. So that's a high praise. That's above 500.
You'll be better than the Giants.
We're going to sweep the board, and I agree with you on that one. I think they win more games than the Giants. I think they end up winning about 80 games, and I do think they're going to have an improvement. And look, I think you guys all hit the nail on the head. You made some great points. A lot of young talent that absolutely can get it done, and I think they'll be better than the Giants. I agree with you guys. All right.
Here you go, Matt. Take anything away from this episode, smash the over.
Boom. Last but not least, let's talk about Nate's hometown. I don't want to call it hometown, but we'll call it residency. The Colorado Rockies.
I think we should skip this team. You kidding me?
Oh, you're down the street. This is down the street from you. We can't. The Colorado Rockies, according to DraftKings, are set at 65.5 wins. They are plus 18,000 to win the NL West. A plus 18,000. That is a crazy
Bet
number.
$1 on them to win, Peter. Bet $1 on them to win.
Bet $1. So the Rockies, right? They're coming off a season in which they went 68 and 94, haven't had a winning record since 2018. Everybody loves to make fun of Coors Field. It feels like that's a great punchline. So feels like no one's really high on Colorado. Maybe I'm wrong. Peter, what do we got?
No, under this team literally disgusts me. This team isn't worth any of our time. After they signed Chris Bryant for $1 billion, they have no direction. They have nothing. I don't get what they're doing. They didn't sign anybody to help them out. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, it feels like the direction of that team has been questioned, and whether it's become retaining some of their own talent, trading some of their, letting it, like, it feels like they don't really have a direction, and I think that's a good way to put it. Dylan, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same train. We could honestly just skip them. They don't have like that franchise guy. Like they haven't. Trevor Story was him for a bit. Obviously he left.
Tulowitzki, Carlos Gonzalez.
Yeah, these guys all leave.
Arenado.
Skipped him, sorry.
Like they're just not good. Like I don't know if it's an organizational thing or they just don't want to spend money.
They don't want to pony up for Arenado, but they'll pony up for Chris Bryant.
Yeah, like that's what I mean. Like it was just such a waste of money.
Yeah, that didn't make sense to me.
I'd be surprised, honestly, if this team wins 60 games. Like,
oof. So Dylan says they creeping towards the 100 loss category. Love it.
Yeah.
Nate, what do you got? Nate's gonna say they're gonna win like 18 games.
God damn. I mean, I don't see this game. I don't see this team winning 60 games. I mean, maybe 55, 56, but I mean, you have Nolan Arenado who wanted to stay there, and you give Nolan Arenado to the Cardinals, and you pay them $50 million to take Nolan Arenado, and the money that he opted into is the same exact money, $185 million, that you give Chris Bryant. I mean, if I were born and raised a Rockies fan, I would have jumped ship years ago. That's all I got to say on the Rockies.
So logistically,
horrendous
right?
franchise. Their owner saying how, I think we can be around 500. You bum.
Logistically, right? We kind of all mentioned the Chris Bryant situation where we don't really understand what happened. Is there a logistical reason that either or any of you guys think could be a reason why they ponied up for Chris Bryant, but they wouldn't for Nolan Arenado?
They needed to get fans back.
Yeah, but
I couldn't even tell you.
Why didn't you just re-sign Arenado instead? Like, what was
they knew they screwed up?
So you don't think Arenado wanted to go back?
Maybe not, but I don't know. They needed fans in the seats. They needed something. I don't know. You can give $315 million or whatever it was to Chris Bryant. There you go.
What, Charlie Blackmon doesn't put people in the seats? Who doesn't want to go see Charlie Blackmon?
Nate, have you been over there yet? That ballpark?
Yeah, I've been there a few times. It's nice. It is a nice park. It's really all it's got. It's just the ambiance. It's about it.
It's all it's got. I'm going to take the under here. Looks like we're all sweeping the under for the Rockies, which may bode well or may not bode well. The Rockies win 90 games. Don't blame us.
God damn.
Imagine
Watch them win the division.
All right, we spend way too much time on the Rockies. Way too much time.
I'm sorry. I apologize. All right, we'll transition to the favorite, Nate's favorite division, the National League East. Yeah, let's get right to the punch. Let's talk about the New York Mets. Nate's New York Mets. For those of you that don't know, Big Nate, Nate's fandom, the New York Mets. That's his thing. Yeah. That is his life, his liberty, his passion. And he was, I don't want to say heartbroken from the Mets loss last year in the wild card round, but he was disappointed. The Mets won 101 games last year. DraftKings has them set at 94.5 games this year. They're favored to win the NL East. And actually with plus money at plus 130. Okay, so this should be fun. Peter, just one thing about we'll talk about the Mets offseason quickly here. They were busy. They brought in Justin Verlander, who, again, one of the best pitchers in the MLB. They brought in Carlos Correa.
Yes.
I tried not to laugh. I'm sorry, Peter. I'm sorry, Nate. Peter told me to do that. I had to do it. All right, Nate. Peter, go.
All right, yeah.
Can I start first with the Mets?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So first, Carlos Correa. I mean, it sucks, but based on hearing how we heard about his ACL, I'm completely fine not paying him. He's probably going to tear it in this year with the Twins. So RIP to them. I mean, and yeah, so it is what it is with Correa. I don't really care. Kodai Senga rocks.
On a scale 1 through 10,
gonna be a stud.
how sad were you? On a scale 1 through 10, how sad were you when Correa left?
I mean, I was in Aruba. I was drunk, so
I know you were.
I was talking to my dad. I was like, "Oh, Correa went back to the Twins." I was like, "Yeah, F it, whatever."
So it
Pounded
sounds like a
beer
9 out of
and
10.
Steve Cohen's honor. So Kodai Senga, I love him. I think he's going to be great. I think his ghost fork pitch is sexy. It's beautiful. Guy's going to be a legend. Justin Verlander, you pull him in. It's going to be pretty fire. Only thing I kind of worry about is the offense. To see what they do. Probably do something at the trade deadline. But bullpen is as great as it gets. They brought in Brooks Rally from the Rays. Gave Edwin Diaz the biggest contract for a closer ever. Bullpen all around is pretty solid. Rotations up there is as good as it gets. Lineup, my big question mark, but pitching wins, so we'll see. I'm taking slight over on this. I don't think they'll win 100 games again, but I think they'll be in around 97, 98.
Okay, so Nate has him 97, 98. So before we go to Dylan here, if the Mets don't hit that win total that you're saying, what goes wrong?
Well, as long as I win the division, I'm happy.
Okay,
I
well,
think
if
they
do-
got to
if-
win that
what could go
division.
wrong? What do you think
They're
would
the
go wrong?
Mets. They're the
What
Mets.
what would go wrong for them to not win?
Correct, yes.
Verlander's age catches up to him, but we haven't really seen that much of it. We haven't seen a decline from him at all. Same thing with Scherzer. We haven't seen a decline from him at all. Edwin Diaz, maybe he comes back down to earth. He's not as great. Brandon Nimmo is now being paid $162 million. Maybe now that he's being paid, his offense kind of comes back to where it was. But his defense has been up on the. It's been climbing up. It's been getting better every year. Big hustler, so I don't think that's going to be much of a scare. I think it all kind of relies on Kodai Senga. I think it really relies on him. I think rookie of the year candidate. I think it's going to be Corbin Carroll. But I mean, if Kodai Senga can win at least 10 games, to have like a sub 2.75 ERA, which is what he did every year in Japan. I mean, his team's going to be pretty good. So I think it all kind of relies on Senga, but I think the one thing that could potentially screw them is Nimmo now being paid, Diaz now being paid. And we'll see what happens.
Now, I'm sorry, I keep cutting Dylan off. Okay, how am I going to phrase this? What is the line in terms of what do you expect them to do this year? If not, what would it be considered a disappointment? I want to get all the receipts out.
They need to at least be
competitive.
NLCS.
Don't be saying
competitive.
that.
No,
go
you
deep
you
in the
go higher.
NLDS. I mean,
So NLCS. They gotta
ideally
make the
World
NLCS.
Series, but who the hell knows at this early stage of the season? But
I think NLCS is fair. I think
yeah,
NLCS.
NLCS.
They should be there at the very least. Let's say they lose to the Padres in the NLDS. Again, you lose to a talented Padres team. You can't get bounced in the wild card though. You can't
No.
this year. They
No,
cannot.
that happens again. I mean, what the hell are they doing?
Okay.
Same
All
caveat
right.
though. Yeah, they could lose to the Padres in the wild card game.
That's I still consider it an L at that point. I think they need to get to the NLCS, in my opinion. If I were in Nate's shoes, I'd be pissed if it was anything less.
NLCS or bust.
All right, Nate. I'm glad you put all the receipts on the table now, and that's good for everyone to remember.
Yeah, they
Dylan,
are.
finally, you can speak.
94.5. It's a good line. I think they're definitely going over 90 games, but I just feel like somebody's going to get hurt or something's going to happen. I think they win like 93. So I'm going to go the slightest bit under.
I'll
But
take
they
it.
also do, if Verlander, if all their guys stay healthy, they can definitely, I agree with you, win 97, 98 games. I don't think that's an issue. I think they have some wiggle room, but I think it's baseball. Somebody always gets hurt for some stupid reason. And that's coming as a Red Sox fan. I watched Chris Sale get hurt riding a bicycle last year. I think they win 93. I think that's the final total this year.
Love it, Dylan.
The funniest
And Nate,
injury
I
I've
think
seen as
that's
a
fair
Mets fan was
criticism.
when Yoenis Cespedes was on his Buffalo ranch, and he got kicked in the nuts by a horse, or Lucas Duda, who was moving stuff to his apartment, and he fell down the stairs, and his box of books landed on his leg, and somehow almost broke his leg.
Stupid. Chapman just got hurt from a tattoo or something.
Yeah,
Who?
that's the Chapman.
Aroldis
Not
Chapman.
Chapman.
No,
Aroldis Chapman just got
Oh,
hurt from a
Aroldis
tattoo.
Screw him.
Nate, what would you do if that happened to Francisco Lindor? He got kicked in the Buffalo. He got kicked by a Buffalo.
I'd first wonder how that happened because he's in New York, but I mean, wow, I'd cry for sure. I would definitely cry. Seth Corner would be first to know, his number one fan.
He would, yes. Seth has a Francisco Lindor jersey hung up on his wall.
It's like I do right in my room right here. I'm
correct.
Looking at it right
As
now.
he studies for the bar, he looks at the Lindor jersey to give him motivation. Yes.
Yeah. Taking the pre-bar.
All right, Peter, what do you got?
I have them as the over as well. Nate perfectly said it. They have all the talent in the world. Simple as that.
Okay.
Nate kind of did this team, so.
Nate
What
swayed
do
you.
you think of Kodai Senga, Petey?
Senga's amazing. I mean, I hope he's not the next Dice guy, but he's pretty amazing.
Love that, man.
Top 5 rotation in baseball. So
He's the wild card. I think Nate nailed it. I think he is going to be the reason why the Mets succeed or fail. I put fail. I fail meaning like they don't win 95 games.
Yeah.
I think the NL East is going to be competitive. I think it's going to be scrappy. I think it's going to contain a lot of different things that could go on. Injuries could happen. There's a lot of age variables, like Nate said, with Scherzer and Verlander, both above 40 years old now. How are they going to manage their innings, if they do so at all? So I think this division is going to come down to a team in the low 90s. So I'm going to take the slight under. I think they win 92 games. I think they make the playoffs, but I'm going to take the slight under. I think there's going to be a lot of three different teams that are going to be competing for the NL East title, and I think they're going to be at each other's throats all year. It's going to be a dogfight. So I think that I like the under here. But Nate, I hope you take that in a respectable way. I'm not saying they're going to win 72. I said 92.
Great man, big kid. I respect it.
You're still a good man. All right, let's move on.
No, Seth would say 55.
Yes. Nate, don't worry. Well, Seth will have the ticket. Don't worry. I'll have the under ticket. Let's talk about the Atlanta Braves, a team that Nate, I'm sure, loves. DraftKings has them set at 94 wins. They are plus 140, so slightly less odds than the Mets. The Braves, of course, are coming off a season in which they absolutely hurt Nate's Mets. I'm sure Nate is very unhappy about how that, of course, occurred. The Braves are coming off a season in which they won 101 games, right? And the Braves have been competitive the last couple of years. They've won above 90 games every year since 2017. I'm sorry, they won 88 games in 2021, so scrap that. All right, so like I just said, their total is set at 94.5. Nate, why don't you go again? Why don't you lead off again?
I mean, they lose Dansby Swanson. Great player, great shortstop. And who do they replace him with? Nothing. How much money did this team spend in the offseason?
their prospect Vaughn Grisham. That's who.
Funny man, Peter. How much money did they spend, though, in the offseason? $0. They traded for Sean Murphy, even though they already had a catcher. Now they have 2 solid catchers. Bullpen, it's very solid. Rotation, solid. I mean, Max Fried, he lost his arbitration case, so he's definitely gonna walk in free agency this coming season. There's no question about it. He might be a Red Sox. That's kind of what I've been thinking. I mean, their offense is good. Von Grisham had some problems in minor leagues. We'll kind of see how he does with his defense. I don't know. I think the Mets are going to be in the high 90s, so I think the Braves are going to be around this. I'll give them 90. You know what? No, screw them. I'll say under. They'll be at 94. Under.
Wow, under.
Fan base needs to wake up.
That was for the Nate brand.
Become human.
Wake up, they won. Wake up. You need to wake up.
The hell with Atlanta.
What have you
I don't
done?
care what TJ Albin says about how great Atlanta is. The hell with Atlanta. It's the worst city in the world.
That seems like a stretch. But all right, we're going to move to Dylan now. Dylan, what do you think? Over, under 94.5.
You ever see the show Atlanta, Peter and Dylan and Pombo?
Yeah, I love that show.
Heard
That's
of
a
it. I
good
haven't watched
description
it.
of how Atlanta is.
Interesting.
Anyway.
I've never been to Atlanta, so I
Don't
I
bother.
can't speak on that. But I'm gonna go slight over. I think the Braves are still a really solid team. Obviously coming off the title, that's a big thing. And I do agree with Nate. I didn't get the trade for Sean
it's a
Murphy.
big thing.
Well, that was 2 years ago, big kid. That was 2 years ago.
Oh yeah, it
That's
has
awesome.
been 2 years.
It's still great.
Even 2
'cause
years.
Nate-
You've
it's
still
still-
been
Nate-
there. You're still
Doesn't matter. The
competing.
Nate
Mets
was like,
didn't
"They're
win
gonna wake
anyway.
up."
It doesn't matter. The Mets didn't win the title anyway.
But still,
Ozzy Albies coming off an injury too, so who knows about him?
I mean, there's obviously some question marks, but I think this is a team that goes slightly over. I think this is probably the most competitive division in the National League. If the Mets win 93, I see the Braves winning 95, 96. I think it's going to be tight down to the last month of the season, but I just think, I don't know, the Braves are just going to get hot at the right time.
What
I
happened
still
to
love
them
you, big
last
kid.
year. Nate thinks of you a little bit less, but I think the reasoning is pretty spot on. Peter, what do you got?
Yeah, don't disrespect the Braves ever again. They have Mike
I
Soroka.
always will, big kid. They're my least favorite team.
Yeah, I
in
know
sports.
that's just you, like us with the Yankees. I know. That's Mike Soroka's coming back too. Ronald Acuna Jr. should be all healthy, ready to go. So
Mike Soroka. Wow.
come on, bro. I mean,
That's a pitch in 2 years.
it doesn't matter. He's just an arm. That's
That's
fine.
great.
Damn.
There you go. Over.
I'm going to take the over too. I think they win 95. I think they win 95. I do think, Nate, I know you'll be very upset, but I think they're going to be right there for the NL East. I think they're going to be neck and neck with the Mets. I think it's going to come down to those two. So I think
More
if
than the
they're
Phillies,
gonna
yeah.
win, yes, I think they're going to win more games than the Phillies. I have them winning 95 over. All right, let's talk about the Phillies. Like Nate just said, Phillies, according to DraftKings, are set at 88.5 wins. DraftKings has them at plus 370 to win the division. I think if you like the Phillies and you like the roster construction, there's some good value there. But Nate, I'm sure you're going to tear into the Phillies now, so let's hear it.
Their lineups is great, very good, very great lineup. Pitching, I mean, you give $77 million to Taijuan Walker. I can tell you just as much as anyone that he's not worth anywhere near that. Aaron Nola's he had a bounce back year last year. He kind of fell apart the last couple of seasons, so we'll see how he does. Zach Wheeler is one of the best pitchers in the National League. Good for him. The bullpen, they didn't really do a whole lot to improve. They bring Craig Kimbrell, 8 years out of his prime. You guys can test that damn well. Freaking Craig Kimbrell. Yeah. What I'm trying to say is their offense, very great. They got some names. Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, even freaking Reese Hoskins, even freaking what's his face? That catcher.
JT Realmuto.
Oh, yeah.
JT
Realmuto,
Realmuto, that's it.
yeah.
That's it. That about to say something I shouldn't say. I won't say it. But yeah, that team got some big names in the offense. Said it before, what they all are. I don't need to
All
say
right,
it.
next person.
I'm
That'd
taking
be-
the under. They don't have any pitching. Besides
Okay.
2 guys.
God done.
I'm
Go anyway.
gonna go with a slight over. Again, this is a division you could see all 3 of the top teams win 90 plus games. I think the Phillies win 89. I think they just got there. I also really like the Phillies just simply for Nick Castellanos because he's the apologizer. And if anything terrible happens, that man is absolutely cranking a home run the next game.
Whenever it's a home run, I send it to Dylan on Twitter.
I get so hyped when I see a Castellanos home run because it's like something bad happened. But I agree with Nate. Trey Turner, top 3 player in baseball going there. Their big questions are, I think, their pitching. I agree with Nate about Kimbrell. Dude used to make me sweat as a Red Sox fan. He'd go in with a 3-run lead and we'd win, but we'd win by 1. It's just, but this is going to be a fun race for the pennant between the Mets, Braves, and Phillies.
Hey, Peter.
I don't like the Craig Kimbrell slander. He was nails in the 2018 postseason. Nails.
He sucks.
It doesn't matter. And then 2, this is the best bet in this division. Slam the under, Matthew. Under. Nobody even brought up the fact Bryce Harper's going to be out at least the whole, probably first half. So
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Bryce Harper's out until potentially July. I like the under here too. I think the Phillies win 86 games. I think they come back down to earth a little bit. Still, nonetheless, above 500. They're going to be a side in the Mets and Braves thorn. I should say a thorn in the Mets and Braves side. And ultimately, I think I like the under here. Again, Harper missing potentially up until July. I think that could ultimately get them out of the gate slow. So I like the under here. All
You know
right,
what,
so it
Peter?
feels
I
like
will
we're
say
sort of
this. I will
split.
say this. Dave Dombrowski should win an award. He should win an award for what he's done the last decade.
What's that?
Clown of the Century award.
what are you
I
talking about?
disagree. I mean, he's been in the
he got
World
us a
Series.
World
He's won a
Series.
World
Clown of the
Series.
Century.
He won the World
Clown of
Series
the
last
Century.
year. No, you
He
can't say
ruins
that.
farm systems. He ruins
Yeah, but
farm
he
systems.
wins
He did it
games.
I'd
to
rather
the-
have Dave
he
Dombrowski
did
than
it
the
to,
crap
he
we
did
have
it to
now. No
Tigers.
prospects.
I love that he's
no-
not doing it to the Phillies. Let's go, Dave Dombrowski.
Sure,
Let's
he can
go.
go to the World Series. We're not going to sniff that until like I'm dead, probably.
And they
Nate,
win.
Nate, who do you despise worse, the Braves or the Phillies?
I despise the Braves. It's
It's the Braves.
the Phillies are the worst fan base in sports. Philly fans in general. You guys hate the Eagles. You guys know. I mean,
To be honest,
I
it's
hate
probably-
one more.
it's
it would
probably
probably be
Boston
the Braves. The
fans.
Braves have after the Mets more in the last 2 decades.
It's the Braves. And it feels like the Braves are more well constructed. So I get it.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the Marlins, right? Big Marlins guy. You know, back at 2C at Curry, I used to always be the Marlins when we play MLB The Show. Dylan can attest to that. They were stacked in like 07. Let's talk about the 2023 Phillies, though. DraftKings has them set at 76.5 wins. They are plus 3,000 to win the NL East. Another team that's sort of in a rebuilding mode, but they're again, DraftKings has them, again, 76.5 wins. That's a significant jump in which I'd say over the last couple of years, they've sort of been a team that's kind of went through ups and flows. They had the whole saga a couple of years ago with Derek Jeter leaving and that sort of thing. And the Marlins are coming off a season in which they won 69 games. They actually haven't won more than 70 games in a year since 2017. So that should be interesting. Nate, we'll start off with you again because that seems to be the theme.
I'll take the slide over on the Marlins. I mean, their rotation's pretty solid. Sandy Alcantara's great. They traded Pablo Lopez finally. He's terrible. Rotation's solid. We got some pretty good prospects. Offense is decent. Bullpen's decent. I mean, they're not going to be great, but I mean, they're probably going to be 77, 78 wins.
Okay. So slide over. Dylan?
Yeah, I'm gonna go slide over as well. Same thing Nate said. I like their pitching. I love Jazz Chisholm. I think he's another really hot prospect in baseball. Don't know if he'll spend his whole career in Miami because I don't know why. Like Jason's MLB The Show team, they had Yelich and Mike Stanton.
Jose
Anyone
Reyes.
who remembers Mike Stanton, D. Gordon. But yeah, I think they'll be right around like 78 wins. Nothing crazy, but an improvement over last year.
All right, Peter.
Jazz Chisholm, future Red Sox.
Listen, to be fair,
Hope.
they wouldn't have blown it up if Jose Fernandez didn't die. But I have
Yeah.
them as a hard
Interesting.
under, Matthew.
Hard under, really. I'm surprised. I thought you were going to be high on this team.
No, Octorano won the Cy Young last year, and I'm pretty sure they didn't even sniff 70 wins. So
It's 69.
yeah, I think he's gonna regress. I think their offense is not that good, even if Nate said so. But I don't know. So Marlins under.
I'm gonna take the over. I'm gonna agree with Dylan and Nate here. I like them. I like the over. I think the team's going in the right direction. I think they can win 78 games. I think that's in the cards for them. And like I said, I think this division's going to be pretty good. It's going to be competitive. And I think they're a couple years away, but I think they can make some noise in the future. All right, let's tune into the Washington Nationals.
All right, 3 seconds on the
Under.
Nationals.
Under.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Let me read the
under.
let me read the odd. Let me read the odds.
They're winning.
They're slated to win 60.5 games. DraftKings has them. Let me count the zeros. Plus 20,000 to win the National League East. Okay, over under 60.5. This should be quick. Nate.
1, 2, 3. Everybody in unison.
They'll be
Under.
30 and 132.
Under.
Okay, Dylan.
Under. That's it.
I'm going under. I think they might.
Ooh.
So under. I'm gonna go even this far on. I'm gonna go under 43 wins.
Oh my word.
Good man.
Peter.
Under. No. There's no time.
No, Peter said,
Okay, all right, and I agree with I agree
Peter
with
said that they're winning 69 games.
Peter, I agree with you. I'd take the under. Now, are they going to be the worst team in baseball?
No. You got the
Yeah,
A's on the other
probably.
side. No.
How many teams are going to be awful? We said the same thing about the Reds.
They won't be as bad as the A's.
Okay.
You
all
can
right.
name somebody on the Reds. You can name probably not actually. You can't probably name somebody on the Nationals.
I really think this national teams might win like 38 games. Like
Yeah. It's going to be.
they
ugly.
have nobody. Like they blew up their team. They even lost Nelson Cruz, who was like probably their one guy to hang on to, and he went to the Padres.
Their team this year is going to look like Selena Gomez. It's going to be fugly.
Nate, you suck. All right. With that
I'm
being
sorry,
said,
Pombo. I had to say it.
With-
You're a good man.
with that
I
being
love you, big kid.
said, That's fine. I'll get you back. That was a good dig though. That was subtle. That was a good dig. I think even Dylan was impressed with that one. That was good. All right, so that concludes our National League preview. We gave you all our win totals. Of course, we'd love to have Nate and Dylan on to do it as well. We're going to transition to UFC in a moment with Dylan, but Peter, so next week we're going to have Matt Cooney on to break down the American League. That'll be a lot of
Star
fun.
Wars.
Matty Star Wars, yes, he will be here to break down the American League with us. All right, Peter, that was a great segment of baseball talk. We love having Nate and Dylan talk some baseball. I think it went well, Peter. What do you think?
No, it was good. I mean, go Mets.
All right, so the original reason, like I talked about to start off the show, that we wanted to bring Dylan on for this specific episode was to talk about UFC 285. And it's a big deal for one reason, and it feels like one reason only. It's the return of John Jones. When was the last time John Jones fought, Dylan?
Oh boy, 20. What's it? We're in 2023, so I think 2021 or 2022 was his last fight.
It's been a while though.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years.
Just got to stay off the dope, man.
Well, like he had talked about going up to heavyweight, and then he said he really wanted to like get in shape for it, and there were some reports. So the upper limit of heavyweight is 265. That's the max a guy could weigh in at on fight night.
I mean, John Jones hasn't fought. Do you think he'll have some ring rust? I think so.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think there'll be some rust there. I mean, you don't know how, fight camp's gone, how the weight cut, if he's done weight cut has been. But he's just such a naturally talented guy and just dominated everyone he's stepped in the octagon with. So I think it's going to be a good fight, but it's still John Jones at the end of the day.
It's true.
So Jones's record, he's 26-1, right?
Yeah, and the one has been a source of controversy for several years now. He was basically turning a guy's face into ground Hamburg, and he threw one illegal elbow, which is 12-6, which I think is the stupidest rule in MMA, but is what it is. The referee disqualified him, and that's been the only loss and blemish on his record in the ring. Out of the ring, there's plenty you can say blemishes. Steroids, cocaine, a lot of illicit substances, but
yeah. So you're picking Jones, right?
Yeah, I would definitely go Jones here. Cyril Gane is a really great French kickboxer. I think he has a lot of power, but Jones has this ability to really just adapt well to whoever he's fighting and counter. He has a great example. He is the Bill Belichick of MMA. He takes what your biggest strong point is and just completely 360s, and he's just gonna beat you at your own game pretty much.
So do you have an opponent in mind that he could face after this, if that's on the table?
I definitely think it's gonna be someone in the top 5 of heavyweight. I would really like to see him versus Curtis Blades, who is known for his wrestling, and he's probably the best wrestler the UFC has had as heavyweight, and I'd love to see how John deals with that, just because he's so overbearing in his wrestling.
Okay. Now, Dylan, I know you mentioned that you wanted to talk about some other fights on this card, so let's get into it here with, forgive me if I pronounce this wrong, Dylan. Valentina, I can't pronounce the last name.
Try it. Keep going.
All right, I'll try. Hang on. Let me look at it again.
You're doing great.
Shevchenko. No.
Shevchenko. You were
Shevchenko.
close.
You know what? That
Close.
wasn't that bad. Shevchenko
Yo,
versus
I
Alexa
would have just let
Grasso.
him keep going. Well, he got it.
Shevchenko. I won't mess it up again. Shevchenko.
He got it once. So Valentina Shevchenko has basically run women's flyweight or 125 pounds for the last couple of years. Some of her only losses have basically been to Amanda Nunes, who's considered the greatest female fighter of all time, and Shevchenko's right there with her. I think this is sort of like the time I talked about Nunes versus Megan Anderson with you guys. Grasso's good. She's really talented, and although she has such great talent, you're going up against the best of the best, someone who really hasn't even looked challenged in the octagon in the last several years. So I really don't see anything other than a Valentina Shevchenko title defense once again.
Okay, so with that being said, I'll ask you the same question that I asked about Jones. Now, when she wins, who could her next potential opponent be?
I think that's tough. I mean, she has kind of cleaned out the division. I would
When's
say
the
probably
last time she even lost?
the last Nunes fight, I think, was the last time Valentina lost. Like, and that was going back, I don't know, 3 years maybe at this point, 4 years even. Like she just has continued to win and absolutely dominate 125. And her two losses to Nunes were both at 135 pounds. Yeah, her last loss came in 2017. So that
Wow.
was going
6
on
years.
6 years.
Wow.
And she's just cleaned out her division. I mean, they're struggling to find people who can challenge her because although the people who are lower in the rankings obviously keep winning against each other and get up to the title fight opportunity, they're really not a challenge for her. So I feel like you're definitely going to see some sort of rematch with someone she's faced before just because they're lacking challengers at this point. I mean, it's hard when someone's been, 8 years as champion.
Yeah, you're going on some Roman Reigns stuff.
So it's gonna
Yeah,
be Nunes, right? Because when's the last time she lost? Like,
it's so bad. Her only other loss other than to Amanda Nunes didn't even happen in the UFC. It was in 2010 to Liz Carmouche. So other than Amanda Nunes, the last time she lost to someone not named that was 13 years ago.
Wow.
The woman is just a fantastic fighter.
Jeez, so she's elite.
Oh yeah, if Amanda Nunes is 1A, she's 1B of female fighters. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Right there. Interesting. Now, is there anyone else you want to talk about here on the main card of UFC 285, or do you want? I know you wanted to hit a fight in the prelims.
Yeah, so just one little note. I don't really need to break down the fight. The really talented prospect that people have been hyping on, Shavkat Rakhmonov, is fighting Jeff Neal on this card at 170 pounds. That should just be another fight to bolster his status for wanting to get a shot at a title. And if he wins, I could see him calling out the champion. But other than that, I don't think there's anything else on the main card.
Feels like you're not as high on him as a lot of other people are. Is there a reason for that?
I just think like so far he's kind of, I shouldn't say he hasn't done anything. He's fought ranked guys but he hasn't fought the elite yet. And until he faces the elite at 170 pounds, your Kamaru Usman's, your Gilbert Burns's, your Leon Edwards's, it's great. And I think he's a great prospect. And I think he has all the talent in the world. But I felt in the past couple of years, the UFC have rushed a lot of title fights and then somebody gets embarrassed. And it's like, well, if you actually built the kid up correctly, it wouldn't happen.
Now, is that a case of the UFC sort of looking for that next star? I know, like, specifically on this show, we've talked about when we've had you on, or just me and Peter, about who's kind of the face of the UFC after Khabib, Conor McGregor, that sort of thing. Do you believe they're kind of pushing different names and that sort of thing? Like, for me anyway, like, I'm a casual fan. I'm not a hardcore like you, and Peter watches more than I do. I've noticed they've kind of pushed guys like, I don't know, Patty the Batty, and is that sort of the thing happening?
Yeah, I definitely think that has come down to money fights in the UFC. Back when the sport first started, it was just who was ever the best competitor faced off. But obviously, blue chip sponsors and TV deals, everything like that, people want to make money, and I understand that. At the end of the day, it's part of any major sport, really. But like you said, Paddy Pimblett, who I think is a good fighter, but same thing. I feel like they're rushing to get him to face elite competition. And he's not far enough into his career where he should be facing that. Because if he gets beat by somebody, it completely ruins all that momentum. It ruins you mentally as a fighter, and then you get it down to. Yep. It's just like it just wrecks you. Sean O'Malley's another one. They have
you can't fight tomato cans forever.
Beat up Chris Moutinho.
Yeah, Peter Yan will be like, yeah, nope.
And like I get it from their perspective, like Dylan just said, they're trying to make money. They're an industry where you kind of have to hit on the hot commodities, capitalize on star power. And I understand by that point. But then again, you look at the flip side of the coin, you're kind of rushing these fights. And then you ultimately, again, look at again, different sport, but you want to connect it to football. You will put a quarterback into a bad system, bad coach, bad surrounding talent. He might have the talent, but it might not translate, and you kind of wreck him forever. Same sort of thing could happen in the UFC if you rush a guy.
Yeah, 100%. Because I mean, fighting just has that complete mental aspect to it. And there was this Chael Sonnen the other day was on the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani. Really talked about like just let two guys who want to fight each other get in the cage and fight. It doesn't need to be this whole built up thing for money. If there's that much animosity, it'll sell, and it'll sell well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And quickly here on the prelims, I know you wanted to hit one specific match, and it's a name that I'm familiar with, that I'm sure a lot of other people are. Cody Garbrandt, he's 12-5. He's facing Trevin Jones. What do you think about this one? And why is this fight not on the main card? Because Cody's a name that a lot of people feels like, I don't want to call him a household name, but he's a name that people are familiar with. He's fought on main cards before.
Yeah, and this sort of goes along with what we were having with the rushing someone. He was jumped to the moon talented. He ended up winning the flyweight 125-pound title. The bantamweight 135-pound title from TJ Dillashaw. They had a great trilogy matchups, and he's unfortunately, just because he lost to TJ twice, has sort of just fallen apart since 2017. He's lost 5 out of his last 6. And one of the things that's capped him is, or talked about in the media, is his chin. He just can't take a punch like he used to. It almost seems like if you hit him clean on the jaw, he's going out, and it's a win. And that's his opponent as well. I mean, these are two guys that are on losing streaks. Trevin Jones is on a 3-fight losing streak, 1-4 in his last 5. And this kind of gets to that point in the UFC where if a guy loses, a decently named fight again, he gets cut. And
that could be it.
That's just what it feels like. This is who's going to get cut after the fight.
Whew. Wow. So this
Cody
some
Garbrandt was thrown into that fight, though. He was facing somebody else, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think there was a cancellation not that long ago, so they kind of brought this guy in. But
who's favored for that? Does anyone have the odds in front of them?
Off the top of my head,
I assume Cody's favored, right? You would think.
Yeah, I would probably assume coming out of the red corner.
Because I would imagine, because he has that, I guess, notoriety with the name, I feel like the money would probably come in on him, but could be
so
mistaken.
Caesars right now has him at -165, so not a crazy favorite, but he is, expected to get this win.
Interesting. All right, Dylan. So always great to have you for UFC content. Looking ahead to the UFC 286 or future UFC events, is there anything in particular that you're kind of looking forward to seeing in the upcoming future? We'll call it the immediate future.
I mean, there's always, like I said, I love to see Paddy Pimblett's next fight. I think that'll be really cool. Just specifically 286, you have the rematch between Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman for the 175-pound title, and I think that's definitely a matchup to look forward to at the end of this month.
And one after that is Adesanya is going to get his revenge.
Oh, that's right. It is Pereira versus Adesanya. So yeah, a couple of fights coming up in the next 2 months. That
all right, Dylan. We'll have to have you back on maybe UFC 287. That would be a lot of fun. All right, so Dylan, thank you for filling us in about UFC 285. Looking forward to that card and looking forward to have you back. Maybe for UFC 287, like we were just saying. So Nate, this is your first rodeo here. So me and Peter started this, I don't know, maybe a month and a half ago. This segment at the end, where we do 5 questions, not about football, because a lot of our show has been predominantly about football. So
not this one, baby.
So not this show, though. So we're going to ask you 5 random questions. They can be about anything. So you're going to have to answer in a rapid fire way. Dylan's done this a couple times before, so Dylan kind of gets the gist of it. So Dylan will start first. So Peter, do you want me to ask? Do you want to ask? Because I have a couple.
I have a couple. I mean, you can go.
You start off.
All right.
Okay.
Number 1. What would you do in a darkness retreat? Anybody can.
Would I do what?
What would you do in a darkness retreat?
Oh, the thing Rogers just went on.
Hey, it's not about football. It's not about him.
That's fine.
No. I'm not saying it's about him. I was just
Retreat.
asking.
Yeah.
All right, Dylan, you go first.
I don't know. Probably read a lot. Maybe.
In the dark.
I can't read.
Come on, that's a car answer. All right.
That was the one thing you couldn't do.
That's a Sean answer.
Nate, what about you?
Probably catch up on sleep. Yeah, probably
Good
about
answer.
it.
That was a fantastic. Good job. I'm very happy about that answer.
What
That
do you
might
even
be-
do? Like, I don't understand. What do you just pick a wall and stare at it for
That
4
might
days?
be better than my Wisconsin answer. Nice.
Maybe run around, scare kids that I find.
You can't.
You're in a. You're but. All right. Next question, Jay. They don't get it.
All right. Yeah. I was expecting better out of Dylan. He did well last time. He's gonna bounce back here with this specific question. All right. Question 2. Jake Paul. He just had his boxing match last week against Fury. So what are your give me 3 appropriate words to summarize Jake Paul. Dylan, you can go first.
He's committed. He's athletic, but he's still unproven.
Good job, Nate. PG.
Committed, loser, childish.
Okay, good. Peter, you're up.
Question 3. Why is Kang the Conqueror the worst Marvel villain of all time?
Peter, come on, man. It's one variant. I feel like me and Jason were the only ones that like decently liked Quantumania. I thought it was good. I think that one variant of Kang, it could have been explained better. But you see the Council of Kangs at the end.
Listen, I like him. I'm just saying that because he's on this episode.
Dylan is a great man right here. He's speaking facts. Peter, you're not even speaking. Why are you doing this to your variant, big kid? Your name is Kang. You're Kang. You're the real life Kang variant. I can't. How can you be doing the slander, big kid?
So, yeah, Peter, I'm not with you here. And yeah, I'm not with you. I think Kang's gonna end up being a pretty good villain, but
Kang is
ultimately,
a great man.
I think
Kang is God.
this is gonna hurt Nate a little bit. This isn't meant to. I think ultimately, when it's all said and done, people are gonna enjoy Thanos more than they did Kang. Reason being is because I think that was just Marvel's peak, and I just think they're not gonna.
They built it up longer.
Yeah, they're not gonna end up doing Kang right. Ultimately, I
Yeah.
think Thanos will still always be considered as. Does that make sense? I don't know if you agree on that. But,
Oh yeah.
Okay. Question 4. Ready to go on a question 4 now, right, Peter? Okay,
Yeah.
question 4. Let's talk a little bit about March Madness because that's coming up, Peter. Dylan, let's say March Madness started tomorrow. Who is a school that you would pick? I know it's far, but you can kind of just throw one against the wall.
I mean, my homer pick has to be Providence College. I'm a
Boo!
huge Bear guy.
Boo! Boo!
They were doing really well at the beginning of the season. I noticed they've kind of faltered the past couple of weeks, but there's just always the hope. Like Cooley's such a great coach, and they have so many like just well-rounded players that they should be able to make like a Final Four run. And every year, I'm picking PC, man. Always PC Friars.
Ride or die, right there. Nate, what do you got?
UConn.
Ooh, good answer, Nate.
I always had to choose
Pretty
my
good.
UConn.
Good answer. I like that. That was good. All right, Peter, you got question 5?
And question 5, since we didn't go over who's winning the National League.
Ooh, good one.
I'm going Padres. I'm
I'm
all
going
in on
Padres.
San Diego, man.
Oh,
I'm going
actually,
Padres.
2-part question. Who's winning the World Series? You're not going to be on that episode either.
I'm going the Padres. I'm hammering the Padres this year. Like absolutely hammering.
Dylan, I hope you have a ticket. Don't be Jay.
Maybe I'll use some of my free FanDuel for
There you go.
There you go.
some baseball tickets.
Nate,
I think the Padres are winning the National League and beating the Mets in the National League Championship Series. And World Series, I got
Wow.
Astros over Padres.
ooh, interesting.
Astros. There you go.
I didn't think you were going to go that route. Dylan, who comes out of the American League?
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't.
Do it. Do it. Go with your gut. Go with your gut. Don't let Peter scare you with his college career background.
Oh, the American League this year is tough. There's a lot of movement.
Unknowns.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with another homer pick. Sox get hot here.
Oh my God.
For
I knew you
sale,
were gonna do that.
return a
That's
White
why.
Sox sale.
But they
If
lose to the
Hernandez
Padres.
hits 100 home runs, big kid.
But they lose to the Padres. Xander takes them out. That'll be a fun
Yep.
story. That would be fun. All right. So, Nate, Dylan, this was a great time. You can go find Dylan, of course, on Cheap Talk Wrestling. Dylan also covers MMA for the Daily Go. He's always writing articles, a lot of fun stuff. Nate, who was on Big Talk with Big Nate, which is a legendary program, legendarily iconic,
thank
as
you.
Nate would say. So yeah, thank you guys for joining. And hope to have you guys back on soon.
Thank you guys for having me
Thanks for
on.
having me.
Let's go Mets.
Let's go Sox.
Peter, you got anything else?
No, stay hot, Dylan. You disappointed me with that answer.